Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Alex Wentzo. Alex, excited to have you on the show.
Yeah, no, thank you for inviting me, Gresh. I'm very excited also for joining your show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited as well too to hear about all the awesome things that you're doing. But of course, before we do that, I want to read a little bit more about Alex so you can hear about some of those awesome things. And Alexandre Wentzo is the CEO of iGrafx. He brings nearly 20 years of experience to the highly competitive process marketplace. With experience as an industry leader in various software as a service companies, he has held key positions as CEO of CaseWise and senior vice president roles at Celonis, including senior vice president of ISV, Asia Pacific, Japan, and private equity. In his former role as CEO of CaseWise, he successfully led the company's sale to Irwin, and during his tenure at Synavio, Alex has played a pivotal role in building Synovia's North America into a process modeling and mining space leader, ultimately resulting in a successful acquisition by SAP. And I'm always a fan where I say the processes and the systems will set you free, and it's not the number of hours that you use, but how you leverage them. And I'm sure Alex would definitely say something along the same lines as that. But some pretty cool fun facts I found out. Alex devotes his time to volunteer work. He's a member of Hope and Aid Direct, providing food, clothing, medical supplies, and hope to families in need. And he also is a real Epicurean with a strong passion for hospitality. And we were just talking about all the awesome things that he likes to make and cook and do phenomenal things. So Alex, excited to have you on the show. Are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Well, let's get it started then. So to kind of kick everything off, let's rewind the clock a little bit. Hear a little bit more on how you got started, what I call your CEO story.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, the story started maybe like anyone else, after education. I had my first job around, process. Software companies specialize on helping organizations to run their business more efficiently. At the time, it was a bit gray box. And what does it mean? And that was a bit the beginning of AI, providing, data analytics to help, as I said, organization to run more efficiently. And I joined as a sales guy, and very quickly I became the CEO of this business. And as you said earlier, I sold it after to an American company, and the market got very hot, so I worked not 10 years, but a few years at Signavio, the same thing, successful exit, then Celonis, again, still in the same space, different player. And maybe a couple of years ago, just above 2 years ago, I joined iGrafx, a bit to replicate everything I've learned and to take this organization to the next level.
Nice. I absolutely love that. They said, success leaves clues. So it sounds like by bringing you on and you having that experience, you've been able to kind of take this experience, all the things that you learned and things that you've gone through to be able to bring this to this organization now and be able to continue to kind of replicate that and probably build even further. I imagine the goal is.
That's the plan.
Yes, absolutely. So I wanted to drill down a little bit more. Could you tell me a little bit more about what you're doing at iGrafx, how you're making that impact and serving the clients that you work with?
Yeah, as I said, our customers are normally large organizations, so which is full of complexity. So we help, our client to identify any inefficiencies, bottlenecks in their processes, and indirectly uncover any opportunity for improvement. I like to say we are the growth accelerator, by providing this sort of unparalleled, visibility into their processes through process mining and AI. If you want a sort of metaphor, something quite easy to understand what we do, we are a bit the sort of ER. So you come to us, you've got something not working. We do an X-ray. We can show you what the issue. But when you come out of our ER, you become a bionic man. So we have solved your issue, but then suddenly your arm is not broken anymore, but even stronger. You become bionic. So that's a bit the picture to say, we come in your organization, we X-ray your processes, we make them, bionic.
Nice. I love that analogy, and who wouldn't want to be bionic in their business and then even in their
Yeah.
life to be able to make sure those things happen. But I imagine like when you're having those conversations, so many people probably don't realize like how what those things are, what's causing them pain. So you probably do need to have that X-ray on the entire business to start to identify that, and of course, be able to solve that.
Yeah, you are right. I mean, a lot of organizations have got KPI, business intelligence, dashboarding, but they don't understand why, it's not working as planned. So thanks to our technology, we can really identify the root cause. And with the AI algorithm, we can make some prescriptive, analysis to help them to solve the issue. And as I said, and then move on improve it. Depending on your business, your maturity, uh, you have to pick your battle. As you said, you would like to X-ray the full organization, but you have to start with where you feel there is something painful. It can be around cash, it can be around
Mhm.
supply chain. It really depends on your organization.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I imagine because I always say like organizations now are not silos. So they're not just only this doesn't affect any other aspect. They're probably so ingrained. But I imagine as you start to look at that elbow, for example, of whatever that business is, you start to see that there's other things that might be contributing. And again, you probably get to have, that opportunity to be bionic because you're able to solve and see these potential pitfalls.
Yeah, no, completely right. It's the top of the iceberg, and then when you start to drill down, you think, oh wow, there is so much we can fix or improve, and you get a lot of low hanging
Yeah.
fruits. It's not always very complex, action you have to fix. It's just little by little. The fact you understand the root cause, well, you identify the root cause, you can finally have a plan to fix it.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I imagine because leaders, especially, are probably so close to everything that's happening, it's probably sometimes hard to see the forest for the trees and see what might be those minor fixes that could be huge things to kind of reduce the complexity within the organizations. And of course, at the end of the day, get you to crush and reach those goals. So I guess could you take me through like what that process looks like for you working with clients? Do they reach out and say, "Hey, I have this pain or this thing isn't working efficiently," and then you kind of just go through the steps with the AI and the software to be able to kind of evaluate that?
Yes, so depending on the maturity of our client, some have got low maturities, are not very familiar with process improvement or AI, as we call it. So
Hmm.
we normally start around processes around cash because everyone want to improve cash
Hmm.
flow, account receivable, account payable, order to cash. I mean anything around cash. So um, we
Hmm.
we try to understand their environment, what their current pain. And normally we will say, okay, you know what, let's move to a proof of value. Let's us demonstrate the value, how we can really, because they need to figure out, right? They need to understand how much we can help them. So sometimes by taking a small, scope, showing them the value, suddenly it's much easier for them to understand it and say, okay, let's design a project together and let's start to the next level. On the opposite way, you have got very large organization with a high maturity. They come to us to say, hey, we have got a very complex supply chain. Can you help us to improve, or reduce the production, days by 10%, by 20%, or reduce, or increase the production rate. Anyway, so we help them with our type of technology to achieve that.
Yeah, I appreciate you breaking that down, and that makes so much sense, and you all being able to kind of understand that, and of course be able to provide that value because as you mentioned, like clients may not be as aware about like what process improvement is or even like what systems and all those things. So I imagine to be able to show that success and then say, okay, we've been able to do that, it just probably becomes a little bit addicting because you want to continue to kind of have more of that because you want to see that all throughout all parts of the organization.
Correct. Yeah, it's a journey, as you said. When you start, it's an
Mhm.
initiative. You just continue because when you improve your process, you're going to want to monitor it to make sure you can even improve again by a few points. And then you can move your focus to different areas. Uh, so that's the fun part of it. As you said, when you can be able to X-ray, you just want to X-ray everything. and takes your company to the next level, really.
Yeah, and that probably gets extremely exciting to be able to kind of do that. And sometimes we forget that the difference between success and having more success is sometimes these little small tweaks and changes that we
Mhm.
sometimes can't see because we're so close to it. Do you feel like that's part of what I would like to call your secret sauce? This could be for yourself individually, the business, or a combination of both. But is it your ability to be able to, of course, like marry the technology with the ability to understand like business as a whole and where there might be opportunities and be able to kind of leverage that technology to do that? Do you think that's part of what sets you apart and makes you unique?
I think it is one of the ingredients, I think
Okay.
the real secret sauce, because technology like that can be very complex, AI, So if you think about 10, 20 years ago, it was designed for subject matter expert. You need a specific degree, you need to be an engineer to try to fix anything. We have always been, customer focused, and customer driven, and we really have this is sort of outside, in approach. So our platform has been designed to be used by everyone in the organization. So globally,
Mhm.
to give the ability for any role, from the HR manager to of course, the CFO, the financial guy, but anyone can really leverage and use easily the technology, uh, because we understand, as you said, everyone wants to X-ray or scan their organization, but you need to involve all these different stakeholders to an initiative. As you said earlier, your picture was very great about your elbow. Well, it's all connected with the rest of the body. So you can't just work
Mhm.
with one team that understand how to leverage this type of technology. You need, this sort of, Google Sheet, very easy. You get the intelligence provided by the technology, and you can make very easy action, because the technology provides you this sort of actionable insight, and that's brilliant. Uh, so that's where I think we have got a sort of secret sauce.
Yeah, and I think that's so powerful to have that understanding and of course be able to kind of communicate that to clients as well too because I think so many times we can think okay it's our elbow so it's only our elbow it has to be someplace here but it can be so many other aspects and knowing that as you start to implement or even it starts to become part of the DNA of an organization and part of the foundation. I think when you want to have that it starts to again like penetrate all aspects and starts to see really I think astronomical growth and opportunities when you're able to kind of leverage that.
Yeah, no, you're right. And if I may add something, is we provide this amazing technology, but if you think about it, deals without partner, a bit like flow deals. So we have been creating a very strong, intelligent ecosystem of partners. Technology partners,
Mhm.
consulting partners, because that give us scalability. They bring value add, right? Because some partners have got an expertise in automotive, in food and beverage, and which we are not. We are a technology vendor. So to
Mhm.
bring more value to our customers, I think was critical to have this very large ecosystem of partners, large in terms, as I said, of industry, or area of focus, but also in terms of geography, because we can't be in every country in the world. Uh, so we are, today, we cover some large region like Japan very well, the US, Europe, uh, but through also a very strong partner, network of partners.
Yeah, that ends up being so powerful. I think what the saying is, I think it's the African proverb, if you want to go farther, go together. And I love that ecosystem piece because so many times we can't get stuck in trying to be all things to all people in all organizations. And once we really understand our secret sauce or our superpower, we can lean into that and create those partnerships, that ecosystem, so that at the end of the day, you can provide more value and more impact to the clients that you end up working with.
Mm. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to ask you for
Yeah.
what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or even a habit that you have. But what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think in the journey of entrepreneurship or leadership, I mean, all of us, we look at books, methodology, to guide our path to success. but like everyone, right? And I've encountered a lot of very useful, tools, which I will mention maybe after, that really shape my approach, to business. But I think the most profound, really or impactful resource for me, I know you're going to smile, has been probably the wisdom of my wife. And let
There
me
you go.
explain why. I know it makes me you smile, but I think she, close partner, and I say my wife, but it can be your close partner. She has been able to provide some insight on perspective, right? That have been often, instrumental in my decision making process, because with a different background, she's different background. She's American, but from minority, so we've got different culture, education. She has been able to offer me this sort of balance of empathy, logic, and even foresight, which I think has been very rare to find in a traditional business resources, like I said, books or apps. And obviously, she knows me too. So sometimes I've been a bit, this mentor or sort of safe environment where I can, really share that. So I will give an advice, to many entrepreneurs, different depending on your maturity or your success. For me, I mean, having someone very close, you can share and challenge some ideas. It's great to hear, someone you trust, and value the insight, because sometimes you may be wrong, sometimes you may be miss a dimension that books can't tell you. If not, it would be too easy, right? We all read books from Harvard Business Review. I mean, it's not just copy and paste. After, I mean, if we want to be more down to earth, of course, there are different, tools. Or, one of mine that I use regularly, I think, is probably the mind mapping, sort of visual tool that help you to structure information, to help you better analyze, synthesize, comprehend, the complexity sometimes of what you need for your new idea. Because I'm quite visual, so I quite like this visual part to see, ideas or what resources I need to assign. Or it is one, I would say, a gadget or tool I use, with, of course, the strong support of my wife.
Yeah. Well, you definitely got great, cool points for that, for being able to kind of do that, and I think it speaks so much to the environment that we have that are around us, and like you said so well, obviously it could be our partners, the people that we love and we care about, wives and husbands, or whoever that is, whoever you're spending time with, especially if they're not having the same experiences or same perspective of you. Sometimes it gives you a little bit more of a holistic way to look at things. You have less blind spots, because if they know you, you know them, and they're able to bounce ideas off of, or give you different perspectives, or have considerations, just like as you do when you walk into organizations. Sometimes when you have those people around you that love and care and you trust, it you get what you need, not necessarily always what you want. And I think that at the end of the day, anybody who wants to do anything impactful, they want to be able to kind of reach their goals and realize that it takes a team. It takes more than one person to make that happen. So I love that hack, because it's something that we sometimes can forget about, like how powerful it is to have those different perspectives. And of course, who doesn't love to be able to kind of chart out those things in a mind map to be able to make that more tangible as well too.
I agree.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, what would you consider to be a little bit more of what I call a CEO nugget? This could be a little bit more word of wisdom or piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
Yeah. Well, I guess, with experience, we learn, right? And I guess sometimes we say, I wish I knew that by then. So if I had to give entrepreneurs or business owners, maybe a nugget, is probably a few of them would be embrace failure, right? Because it is a learning opportunity. So, a lot of people, when they fail, they see that as a setback, but don't, it's a vital part of learning, the learning process. If you think about all these very successful entrepreneurs today, if we think about Musk or Steve Jobs at the time, all these people, they have failed many times. Obviously, they rarely write books about failure, which I think that's a pity. But it's part of the process. It's natural to get there. So embrace that. Feel the normal part of the journey. To go back a bit, as you said earlier, on relationship. I mean, here, being able to share things with someone close, but business is about building a relationship. Of course, we've got technology, we've got AI that provide a lot of valuable data, can make us more productive. But at the end of the day, I still convinced that people buy from people, they can make rational decision to build a short list. But a lot of the time, the decision to go with one vendor versus another one is a relationship, is the people behind. So really invest time and effort in building strong, authentic relationship. I think you have to be authentic, it's so important because we meet so many people, very superficial. I mean, today with social media, everything. So to really listen, to your client, to your partners, to your employees, right, to your people, and show you care on building great years in relationship really will take you to the next level. And I think it's important. I mean, yeah, that would be probably the main one. And the last one is once you've built, this network and this relationship, and as I said, you're going through this journey of, growing, failing, and bouncing back. It's a journey of learning. So make sure you invest on yourself. Invest to learn, to always try to learn, because the world today is changing even quicker than it's ever been. So you have to make this effort to always continuously learn, self-improve. We all can do that, right? We all need to do that. But when I say invest in yourself, is also mentally and physically, because it's our job it demands so much resources. If you are not physically, mentally capable of that, it's hard, right? It's not a sprint. We are in a marathon. Sometimes with some sprint period with this ecosystem and this world changing so quick. So think about yourself also. I think it's very important.
Yeah, I appreciate you so much in sharing that. I love how you talked about that marathon and used that word because that resonates so much with me. I think so many times you said marathon and you also said journey a couple times. And I think those words to me are so powerful because I think so many times when we're going through each of those nuggets, which have been extremely powerful, we forget that we need to make sure we're fueling ourselves for that journey and the holistic aspect of what that means, health, mental, physical, all those things, play a part in terms of you being able to kind of continue on. But I also feel like, part of that journey is like as you're training for anything, if you're doing a marathon or you're trying to go from 6 figure to 7 figures, there's so many relationships and things that are outside of ourselves and outside of our organization that we need to succeed. And I think if we start to like really look at those relationships, it builds up our opportunity to not only run our marathon and be able to succeed, but also to help others run their marathons as well too, and realize how there's so much of a back and forth that there are in relationships. And anybody who's done anything related to sports realizes that it doesn't always go the way you wanted to go. And when you have those mistakes or failures, it's not the end of the run. It ends up being like data that you can use to say, okay, the next time I go out and run, I'm going to wear better shoes, or I'm going to make sure I breathe a little bit. All those things play a really big part. So I love that analogy and metaphor because I feel like that is alignment with each of those nuggets and how powerful it is.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So what would you consider to be your definition for my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO? And our goal is to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So Alex, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Oh, it's a hard one. I'm sure many people, I guess you had 1,600, I think, podcasts. I'm sure quite a few people said about the leader or, of the company. But I like to say, what to say? Probably the double A. One A for architect because you try to build something, right? You design. an organization, with a vision, with a mission. So you put everything together to align, with your stakeholders' interests, the usual staff, looking after your staff and also your client. But you are the architect of that. And where I like to think is that's not enough, because that's very, I wouldn't say boring, but it's the next one. I think to really overperform, we need people that can be, for the second A, a sort of alchemist, where you can transform something ordinary into something extraordinary, and I've seen it many times, you see organization not performing, and you've got the right CEO or leader coming, and it can work, motivate the people, give them a vision and a mission that they want to believe. So suddenly blending all these diverse elements, can create something, I think, very powerful. From fostering, strong culture, the collaboration aspect, all that. So it's why we'll say the structure of the architect, on this magic, of the alchemy that can generate something very powerful. Right.
Yes, I absolutely love that definition perspective, that the double A's. I think it's so funny. Before we hopped on, we were talking a little bit about crepes, and I love it because a lot of times you have the recipe, so to speak, and okay, you put this in here and you get a really phenomenal meal. But I think I really love that alchemy part as well, because sometimes, like we were talking about, when I first came across Nutella on crepes, I was like, this is amazing. And a lot of times when you're able to be alchemists and activate that and do things a little bit different, bring things together in a way that they haven't been done, that's when you really reach another level. So I love that, just because I think so many times we think, okay, we're just going to tell and design this, but it's really when you're able to kind of bring something that maybe someone else hasn't done in such a way and execute that things go to an entirely different level.
Yeah, no, I resonate for me, as you said earlier, being an Epicurean, I love great food. It's the same thing, putting ingredients together that individually, these ingredients, but together, making something magic happen. And suddenly, wow, what's that, and that's I think the magic, the touch, of strong leaders making something, taking this, raw diamond and suddenly transforming into something amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely agree with that. Peanut butter is great. Jelly is great. You put them together, it makes some really phenomenal things. So we have to realize that we step into that as leaders too, when we're starting to create some really great innovations and opportunities. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, Alex, truly appreciate that definition. Of course, I appreciate your time even more. So, what I want to do now is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional that you can let our leaders, our readers, and listeners know, and of course, how best people can get a hold of you, find about all the awesome things you and your team are working on.
No, I mean, obviously, I would motivate anyone to continue to do the podcast with you, because obviously, sharing is like that also, sharing best practice, sharing failure. When you fail, continue to share, engage, with Grace. And I think you are a great means for us entrepreneur, because thanks to you, we can exchange, we can learn. So I would just say to the community, let's continue to provide this content and build this amazing network. And if anyone is interested in any way to to extend their network, I'm of course on LinkedIn. You have shared my name, so I will be glad to connect or to exchange or answer any question if anyone had anything else they would like to share or ask.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I truly appreciate that, Alex. And of course, to make that even easier, we're going to have the links and information in the show notes. There's so much that comes, as we talked about, from relationships, reaching out, having those conversations. So thank you so much for making that easier. We'll make that even easier. But I think one of the things that I really, appreciate tremendously in the work that you do, things you talked about today, is we can sometimes get so locked in on technology that we forget about that human part. And whether we're talking about wives or significant others, or we're talking about building relationships, all all those things, we can't forget about the human part of business. So I love how you don't have to you make it so you don't have to choose either, where you choose both and you get better and you start to be that alchemist. So thank you so much for doing that and creating that lead and that trail. And I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.